láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Perfect numbers like perfect men are very rare. With this quote from Renee Descartes, we welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on Radio Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call the attention of the public to education matters as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday on this station, Light Radio, and I am Nima Ibrahim.
And I am Aminat Karim. Her goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy. Educational policy directions to guide the formulators and implementers. For your comments, questions, and contributions, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, at X at The Lights Radio, Instagram Lights_radio, YouTube Lights Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 080-973-84000. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio.
We kick off with the new segment with Nima. Nima, how are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm fine, and you?
I'm good.
All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Why federal government is reversing merger of technical science colleges. Minister. Abia government sets up committee to recover 180 public schools. New educational curriculum to align with skills required by industries. Federal government. University of Benin compels students to sign undertaking not to engage in protest. Others. Now the details. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, has outlined the reasons behind the federal government's decision to reverse the merger of technical and science colleges, stating that the merger undermined the original purpose of establishing technical colleges nationwide. Speaking at a one-day stakeholders meeting addressing the challenges facing technical colleges, Professor Maman expressed dissatisfaction with the previous decision to merge technical colleges with science colleges. Furthermore, he stressed that technical colleges should be dedicated solely to students with a keen interest in technical education. And lastly, the minister pointed out that students interested in science should attend regular science colleges to pursue their studies, emphasizing that the merger was a mistake. The Abia state government has constituted a special committee to recover all encumbered public schools in the state. The committee, which is headed by the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Pastor Caleb Ajagba, has the Commissioner for Education, Professor Uche Eme, as Secretary, and Commissioners for Justice, Lands and Housing, Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, General Manager of Umuahia Capital Development Authority, General Manager of Greater Aba Development Authority, as well as the Chief Security Officer to the Governor as members. Briefing newsmen on the outcome of this week's State Executive Council, the Commissioner for Information and Culture, Prince Oke Kanu, said the committee is saddled with the task of identifying about 180 public schools whose land have been taken over by officials and cronies of the immediate past administration. According to him, government would not tolerate the greed and mindless impunity by a privileged few who have surreptitiously taken over lands belonging to government schools. He equally condemned the misuse of schools handed back to different organizations, stressing that such schools must be used exclusively for educational purposes. The federal government has pledged to ensure that the educational curriculum and training programs perfectly align with the skills required by industries to empower young people to become active participants in the economic growth and development of the country. Minister of Education Professor Tahir Maman said this on Tuesday in Abuja at the pre-validation meeting of stakeholders on the National Policy on Skills Development in Nigeria. He expressed concerns about the skills gap in the country, stating that the development of a comprehensive national policy on skills development is a crucial step in equipping Nigerian youth with the necessary skills to thrive in the 21st century job market. According to him, in a rapidly evolving global landscape, the ability to adapt, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to the workforce has become increasingly paramount. Hence, the combination of collective efforts in shaping this important policy. The University of Benin, Uniben, in Benin City, the Edo State capital, has announced that all the students of the school will sign a compulsory affidavit of undertaking never to sponsor or participate in any assembly or demonstration on the campuses and their precincts without the approval of the university management. The university also said the students will sign an affidavit of undertaking to abide by the arrangements put in place by the university management for the supply, distribution, and utilization of electricity on its campuses. The institution made the announcement in a circular issued on Wednesday, where it announced the resumption of academic activities after the school was closed for over a month since July 4th, following students' protests against power outage in the school. The university, in a circular signed by its registrar, A.A. Bobola, vowed to withhold results of any students who fails to sign the affidavit of undertaking. That's all for the news, but before we go, a quick recap of the major stories. Why federal government is reversing merger of technical science colleges. Minister. Abia government sets up committee to recover 180 public schools. New educational curriculum to align with skills required by industries. And lastly, University of Benin compels students to sign undertaking not to engage in protest. Others. And that's the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Don't forget, for the coverage of your educational events, seminars, fairs, competitions, trainings, and among others, you can reach us on 0702-507-4268, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Education Today returns in a moment. Please don't go nowhere. that's all we can take on the news for today. And right now, we'll take the country in focus with Amina. Good afternoon once again, Amina.
Good afternoon, Nima.
Yes. You have the floor.
You are welcome to the Country in Focus segment, where we consider a particular country of the world, its basic features, and most importantly, its educational system for the benefit of our listener. I am Karim Aminat. Today, the country is in focus is Cyprus. Cyprus is an island nation in the eastern Mediterranean. It is a multilingual and multi-ethnic country with Greek and Turkish as official languages, while English, Greek Cypriot dialects, and Turkish Cypriot dialects are widely spoken. Its ancient civilizations are linked to the Assyrians, Persians, Romans, and Ottomans. It was a British colony from 1878 to 1960 and has been an independent republic since 1960. The country is largely divided into Greek Cypriot South and Turkish Cypriot North since 1974. Cyprus practices a presidential republic with a president serving as head of state and government. This is a unicameral parliament, House of Representatives, and an independent judiciary. The island nation has a population of approximately 1.2 million people, comprising Greek Cypriots, 78%. We have Turkish Cypriots, 18%. We have the Armenian, the Maronites, and others, 4%. Their educational system, the structure, they have the primary education from ages 6 to 12, 6 years compulsory. Secondary education from ages 13 to 18, 6 years compulsory. Then the tertiary education, universities, colleges, and vocational schools. We have the system, the public and private schools, curriculum, Greek, Cypriot, and Turkish Cypriot curricula, with English widely taught. Emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM fields universities. The University of Cyprus, UCY, Cyprus University of Technology, CUT, European University Cyprus, ISUC, the University of Nicosia, UNIC, Open University of Cyprus, OUC. The notable features. Their notable features have high literacy rates, 95%, strong emphasis on education in the Cypriot culture. We have the government funding for public education, the international recognition of the Cypriot qualifications, the opportunities for higher education abroad, particularly in the UK and Greece. The challenges, they have the brain drain. Many Cypriot students pursue higher education abroad and do not return. Funding constraints for public education. They have limited vocational training opportunities, noted for more focus on emerging technologies and innovation. Overall, Cyprus prioritizes education, offering a well-structured system with opportunities for academic and professional growth. Cyprus is known for its high standard of education, and many Cypriot students pursue higher education abroad, particularly in the UK, Greece, and Turkey. And that's it on the Country in Focus segment for this week. I am Karim Aminat. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. That was the country in focus. And right now, we'll take the profession of the week with Said. Good afternoon, Mr. Said.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Nema. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Good day and welcome again to the segment for the profession of the week. I am Said Aremu. Here, we x-ray a particular profession or field of human endeavor within the educational sector. And of course, I will be telling you what it is about, the knowledge and the educational qualifications required for admission into tertiary institutions, the years of training required, and schools that have the accreditation to offer these courses. On today's episode, we are considering metallurgy. Metallurgy is the science and art of extracting metals from their ores, refining them, and creating useful products. As a profession, metallurgy offers various specializations, economic rewards, and admission requirements to study in Nigeria. There are different careers and opportunities that stem from the field of metallurgy. These include extractive metallurgy, which deals with extracting metals from their ores, physical metallurgy that focuses on the physical properties of metals, process metallurgy, which involves developing processes for metal production, and material science and engineering that combines metallurgy with other material sciences. Studying metallurgy can lead to various economic rewards, including number one, competitive salaries. Metallurgy professionals can earn up to 2.5 million to 10.5 million per annum in Nigerian naira. There is also an opportunity for job security and stability. There's opportunities for career advancement, and there's opportunity for you to contribute to Nigeria's industrial development. Keep in mind that salaries and opportunity may vary depending on factors like location, experience, and the specific employer. To study metallurgy in Nigeria, as an applicant, you should pick the science department at the senior secondary school and English language in the SSC conducted by WAEC, NECO, NAPTEB, and the likes. A credit pass in further mathematics is, of course, an added advantage. At the ECMA level, or JAMB as it is popularly known, a good score above 200 is required in subjects including use of English, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. For direct entry students, ND and HND in metallurgy or related fields is compulsory. At the universities level, universities that offer metallurgy include the University of Lagos, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Benin, the Federal University of Technology, Akure. Note that admission may vary depending on the institution and program, so it is essential for you to check the specific university for up-to-date information. Now that's it on the Profession of the Week segment. I remain Said Ademo. Education Today continues in a jiffy. Please stay with us.
right, welcome back, and you are still on to Education Today on Light Radio. And right now, we are moving into the discuss segment, and our guest is very much here with us. And today, we are discussing hashtag End Bad Governance in Education. As you know, that our own primary concern on this program has always been and will always be, focus on the improvement of the educational sector and system in our dear country. So the topic of discuss once again is hashtag End Bad Governance in Education in Nigeria.
On Thursday, 1st August 2024, different parts of the country was engulfed in protest, embarked upon by the citizens who are dissatisfied with the situation of the country with respect to the economy, rising inflation, hunger, insecurity, and government profligacy. As an extension of this, on the program today, we want to examine the governance issues bedeviling the Nigerian educational system.
All right, so today's program is going to be interactive, as we want you, our listeners, to share your views, concerning those issues that you believe need urgent reforms or attention of the government across the Federation. Don't forget, you can be part of the discourse by sending your comments and questions to 0809 738 4000. The number once again is 0809 738 4000, or you can drop your comments on our Facebook and YouTube live feeds. So before moving into the discourse proper, our short quiz is: in what year did Cyprus gain independence? Cyprus was featured as our country in focus for this edition. So Cyprus gained independence in what year? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809 738 4000, or drop it as a comment on our Facebook or YouTube live feed. The first correct answers win the prize. So our guest is, our in-house analyst, is an educator and a social commentator as well. He's also a lecturer in a university in Lagos. He's no other than Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM.
Good afternoon, Nima. Good afternoon, Amina. Good afternoon, our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here, as always.
All right. Thank you. We are pleased to have you, as always, too. So, without further ado, my first question to you would be, what do you think are the root causes of bad governance in this country?
Well, thank you very much for that particular question. And let me begin by saying that I want to identify with many Nigerians who are out there expressing their dissatisfaction with the state of affairs in the country. And I must say that it is within their democratic right. It is an inalienable right in a democracy for the citizens to express their feelings concerning how they are being governed. So it's not a must that they must be satisfied with whatever the government does.
Okay.
If they are satisfied, they express it. If they are dissatisfied, they express it. So we should not have a situation where we only tolerate approval of what government does. We are not dealing with robots.
Yeah.
And not all of us would reason the same way. In fact, the nature of man is that we see things differently.
Yes.
That you see something as 6 does not mean another person is seeing it as 9 is wrong. So we must understand that. So that is a foundation. So for me, I identify myself with those Nigerians who are protesting peacefully.
Yeah, that's the
and
word.
Who are also making their feelings known in a civil manner.
Yes.
I am not for
violence.
I'm not for destruction of public utilities. I am not for destruction of people's businesses, whatsoever in the name of protest. That is criminality. That is criminality. It's not just even extreme. That's criminality under the guise of protest. So we must separate the two. So now, what are the causes of bad governance? First is where you have a situation where those those in charge of the affairs of the country are actually people without the requisite competence that the office, requires, especially when there emerges as a result of, cronyism, nepotism, tribalism, religious sentiment, political whatsoever, shenanigans, that at the end of the day, they find themselves in office. So when you have people, when you put people beyond their level of competence, naturally, one of the things that will result is bad governance.
Square pegs in round holes.
God bless you. Another thing that could result in bad governance is a situation where we allow impunity to reign, where you don't have rule of law, where there is no one checkmating what people are doing. So at the end of the day, see, naturally, human beings, give them power.
Yeah.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, we're supposed to have in a democratic setup where there are checks and balances. And that's why you have what we call the principle of separation of powers.
Yes.
You have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary.
Yes.
So when you have an arm of government doing things without the other arms checkmating, their excesses, naturally one of the things that would happen is bad governance.
Yes.
I'll give you an instance. If, for instance, we have a minister who is occupying an executive position and an appointee of the president who heads the executive arm of government. Now, ordinarily, whatever the ministry does, there is supposed to be a committee in the National Assembly that performs what we call oversight function for that the affairs of that ministry. Now, if those people really do not perform the oversight function, if all they are interested in is, Mr. Minister, what do you have for us? So if at the end of the day, the minister is able to settle them, they approve his budget, and they don't checkmate him, they don't even see, they don't try to find out if at all he is actually implementing the budget as approved, as appropriated by the National Assembly, naturally what you have is bad governance. And so then they also have it, that when you have docile citizens, citizens who feel that their own responsibility ends, political responsibility ends at the polls. Our own is just to go and vote. And after voting, what do? You go to bed, you go to sleep. My people, what you would have is bad governance. So because that work does not stop at the polls, it does not stop at the declaration of the result, it does not stop at the inauguration of such officials into office. It continues. It's a cyclical thing. It's a continuous thing. It's a process. See, democracy is a process.
Yes.
It's not a result. So it's a means to an end. It's not an end in itself.
Yes.
So, and that's why democracy is not the only system of governance that we have.
Yes,
So
it
if democracy is not working for us, then we have to tweak it and fine-tune it to actually get what we want. But unfortunately, the way we are practicing our democracy in Nigeria, we really, especially as citizens, I'm saying this because we really need to wake up to our responsibility as citizens, to hold those that are in public offices to account, because they are holding such offices in trust on our behalf. So we are their employers. So as an employer, if you employ someone to do something for you, do you just leave the person to just do as he or she likes?
Supervise.
No, you supervise what the person does. And the person does not do what you want, you remove the person. So as citizens, we can actually sack those that we put in office. How do you sack them? There are legitimate and legal means by which we can do that.
Yes.
So we can use our representative in the National Assembly. We can actually call for a recall for somebody, a member of the National Assembly, and so many other means like that. One of it is also the fact that we can actually protest if we feel that they are not doing what we want. So I feel that these are some of the causes of what we call bad governance.
All right. Thank you very much for providing that background to the discourse.
So thank you so much, Mr. How was corruption affected the education sector in Nigeria? That's my own question.
How has corruption affected the education sector? See, it's not just the education sector. Corruption has actually affected all aspects of our national life.
Yes.
Education is just one of it. Now, if you talk about corruption, so the first question will be, what aspect are you even looking at? Is it from the aspect of the implementation of the budget or the budgetary allocation to education? That you budget is also amount. We are still saying that the budgetary allocation to education is still very, very small compared to what a developing nation like ours require. A developing nation like Nigeria requires nothing less than 20% of its annual budget being devoted to education. Now we are getting something just around 8%. Now, that 8%, don't forget that what is actually budgeted is not the actual amount that is released. So there is, a mismatch in that regard. Now, eventually what gets released How well do we even implement it? How well do we utilize such judiciously so that we are not having wastages and we're also not, but with corruption, what happens is what eventually gets released really does not get to the area where it is required. And that in such area, you will see it in the aspect of, you have physical facilities that are meant to be constantly maintained. The school buildings are not properly maintained. You have a situation where teachers are being owed salaries. Staff of schools are being owed salaries. You have a situation where even in the examination system, you have people that get results that they don't deserve. A situation where people don't get promoted, or they get promoted when they don't deserve promotion. That's corruption. And at the end of the day, you have a situation that, about 2 weeks back, we had a situation where you have a student in primary 6 that cannot read or write. So cannot even write his or her name. The question would have been, how did such a person pass from primary 1, primary 2, primary 3, primary 4, primary 5, all to basic 6? But that's corruption at play. It could be corruption, official corruption, probably from government or from the school authorities. It could also be a situation where the parents are saying, please, just keep this child in school. If this child fails, automatically you will stop coming to school and might stop schooling. So it might be that, so just take this. Or a situation where people get double promotion when they don't deserve it. A situation where they skip classes. You have a situation now, we are fighting it, that at what age should children gain admission into tertiary institutions? Now we are fighting because we have 14, 15-year-old kids
Even 13.
who are already writing UTME. And now they are fighting the government that why would you want to peg the admission age at, let's say, for 16 as it currently is, or from 18 from next year. Now the issue there is this. You have some of these kids that are not even mature enough for tertiary education, but they are being pushed there. You have a situation where people now have to go, they alter their NIN, they alter their birth certificate. Some don't even use birth certificate anymore. They just go to swear affidavit, so that the declaration of age, so that they can claim an age they don't, that they are not yet up to, just because they want to gain admission. How about admission racketeering? How about that? How about dilapidated infrastructure in our tertiary institutions? So many things, because there is no accountability. Gone were the days where we had of, snakes swallowing money and things like that. It's because of corruption. That's what you get when there is corruption. Beyond that there are so many facilities that are needed in our institutions that government has allocated money, but you don't get to see such facilities. Then you also have contracts, inflation, contract splitting, where, for instance, a particular building, government will claim that this particular infrastructure was fixed on also billion. Now it's like billion is just even a child's play. Now we are now talking of trillions. When we now have projects that are costing trillions in Nigeria, the truth of the matter is, it's not that amount of money that is actually meant for such infrastructure. More than 50% of it is actually to take care of the ruling elite, the ruling party, and so many other people, cronies in government, that would approve such contract. So if any particular document, any particular contract will go through your table, someone will say, what is my own there? My share. So you have to factor that into what you are having. And at the end of the day, we don't get value for the money that we actually put into education. So a whole lot of things. So there are so many areas that corruption has actually affected the educational system.
All right, thanks so much for that.
All right, so quickly, what role do you think politicians and policymakers play in this, endemic corruption that has eaten deep into the Nigerian educational system? What role, once again, my question is, what role have the politicians and policymakers played in this, in the effect of corruption in the educational system?
Well, I'll not just say politicians, because a lot of times we'll talk about corruption. See, the politicians are able to get away with corruption because some people enable them. And those who really enable them are actually the civil servants. Because the politicians are like soldiers and the civil servants are like barracks. Soldier goes, soldier come, barrack does not go anywhere. The civil servants are the barracks. And they're the ones that will show the politicians the way. Oga, not be so that they do for a year. I don't know what you they find for public office, but if you want to carry something, at least go give your family. You don't want get anything at the end of your stay in this office. And like this, we they do and here budget padding and so many other things. But going straight to your question,
Yes, please.
that what role do politicians play as far as this that which usually result in this bad governance? See, a lot of them, they are the policymakers. There was a lot of times the role they play is they are not being patriotic with the office they occupy. So it's all about what is in it for me. It's not about what is in it for the citizens. So it's not about the citizen, but about themselves, me, myself, and I. What amassing as much as I can get. Not looking at what effect will such action of mine have on the majority of the citizens, on the effectiveness of the educational system in it as a whole. Let me give you an instance. It is good to infuse technology in education.
Yes.
But when you have a situation where someone is bringing up a particular idea, a particular innovation, not because of the benefit of the innovation, but because I know that at least I would, I would get the contract of buying such gadgets. And at the end of the day, I'm not getting durable gadget, I'm not getting quality gadget. I'm getting inferior quality at the price that is even higher than the quality that obtains in the market.
Imagine.
And at the end of the day, I get it. It is not sophisticated. It is not meeting the needs as required. But at the end of the day, I go around and I still spend huge sums of money to say that look at what we have been able to do for the people.
You present that.
You present that. And at the end of the day, it doesn't last beyond 1-2 years and packs up. You now have to buy another set or something like that. So that's a problem. Beyond that is also the fact that politicians are always interested not in what they want to, what the people need. They are only interested in occupying the office or winning election. So all that they are doing is get towards what can we use as a bait to convince the people to vote for us in the next election. So as they are in office, they are thinking of how much they can embezzle so that they can take home for their families, and at the same time they can use to finance the next election to keep themselves in power. Beyond that is also that they also try to do something so that at the end of the day they will say, it was me that gave you this. It was during my tenure that we got this. And that's why you have many people in the National Assembly that have turned universities, polytechnics, and these tertiary institutions to constituency projects. Everyone is thinking of what particular institution can I bring to my own community. So that then they say, when I was there in the National Assembly, this was what I brought, I attracted to the community. Even if the community does not have what it takes to be able to sustain such, an institution. We have that, and that's why we also have a proliferation of these institutions when the existing ones are not properly taken care of. So that's politicians for you. Again, you also have a situation where so many people that are being owed, so many contractors are being owed, so many staff are being owed salaries, pensions, check-off deals, cooperative deductions and things like that. You take it from the staff salary and you don't remit. So at the end of the day, you cause problem for the incoming administration. So these are some of the things that politicians do. So the truth is, we all need to be patriotic. Beyond just what I can get, what can I get? Or winning the next election. Because if you're to look at it, when we talk about appointing people that are not competent, who are those that appoint them? Politicians. So because at the end of the day, you look at it that, okay, these are my people, my party members. So you're looking at party members. You're not looking at who are those that have the capacity to deliver the mandate that would meet the needs and expectations of the people. So we are not interested in meeting the needs of the people. We're only interested in just keeping ourselves in power. So politicians are responsible for all this. Who are those that prepare the budget? Who are those that actually implement the budget? It's this set of people too, in connivance with the civil servants.
So everything is about connection. When you know somebody, you will be given a post or something like that.
Well,
so thanks so much for that. The next one is, what has lack of funding impacted? How has lack of funding impacted the quality of education in Nigeria?
Well, my people would say that money said, if I'm not around, nobody should even think of anything. Your ideas they are as good as mere wishes, wishful thinking, if you don't have the financial resources to implement them.
Yes.
No, sir. So in that regard, lack of funding goes a long way in affecting so many things that we do in education. Without funding, you cannot have the necessary infrastructure in place to provide a conducive learning environment for people.
Yes. That's true.
for the students to learn, for teachers to work. Without enough funding, you cannot recruit adequate number and quality of staff that will work in the institutions. Because you cannot attract the best. Let me tell you this. Okay, Nigeria, we talk about brain drain now. Why are people running away? Because they tell you that, what are we getting? But if I should go out of this country to another country, even here in Africa, there are people that pay better than Nigeria. There are countries in Africa that pay services of academics better than what they are paid in Nigeria. Let me give you an example. A professor in Nigeria does do 500. It does not earn just more. They earn just around $500. Now that is what it is now, if not less, in a month. And you have some African countries that pay as much as $5,000, $6,000 a month. So why do you think such academics with such brains should stay back in Nigeria? So that's a problem, you know.
Yes.
So if you're to consider all this, it's finance. Look at lack of adequate funding, what it has done. A lot of the schools are very expensive now, including public schools now. Now the government is saying we are bringing student loans.
Yeah.
See, the truth of the matter is, if government had been alive to its responsibility, what Nigerians need is not student loan, but adequate funding from government. But because of corruption, so we cannot get enough for our institutions. And that's why, see, the private universities are selling because the public universities are failing.
They're lagging.
Ordinarily, they should be the pace setters. But, you know, gone were the days when, if you don't go to some of this, you know, Ivy League, so to say, universities in Nigeria, it's as if you did not go to university at all. But now, our so-called Ivy League universities are fast becoming advanced secondary schools. Because they only have the name, living on past glory. In terms of facility, in terms of staff, in terms of everything that makes learning meaningful, even in terms of quality of research. They don't command the global respect, the reputation that they had in the past. They no longer command such. You don't have private universities competing adequately with our, so to say, Ivy League universities. That's a slap because of inadequate funding. It now seems as if private universities are better funded than public universities.
Yes.
Is that not a slap?
It is.
But the truth is, you continue to get that with corruption, with lack of priorities, and with lack of vision for the education sector by those who are the political leaders. So, see, let me give you this instance. We have so many universities that the workers, the staff, the academic staff, are willing to embark on research, but there is no funding. Some cannot attend conferences they ought to be attending on an annual basis because the government would say there is no money, so they cannot fund such conferences. At the end of the day, you have to use your personal money. When you cannot even meet with your feeding needs or your transport needs, is that where you think of research? Or why would you even do the research when you don't have reagents, the laboratories are empty, you don't have the requisite facilities? I remember here, on this seat that I am sitting, we had the former, chairman of ASU University of Lagos saying that in our laboratories, students conduct research, lecturers conduct research. Instead of using Bunsen burner, they use stove. That is what lack of funding would cause. Because we really don't take it as something important. Research is not cheap. And without research and development, you cannot produce, you cannot have patents. You cannot come up with anything that will be meaningful for the industries to commercialize, to market. What is our own Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley is the University of Stanford, the United States of America. So a lot of things that you see are product of researchers in these tertiary institutions where our own research. They end up on the shelves of lecturers as projects that have been binded. Tell me what would they do with such projects? They just keep it there.
Or even medicine.
Because the truth is, we know that we are not doing research. We are only reproducing what has been done in the past. Someone just go and do photocopy and just print or whatsoever and submit a lecture, just go away.
We only search, we don't do research.
God bless you. So I think.
All right. So you've provided the factors that contribute to corruption in the educational sector. So now, what role do you feel that civil society, parents, and communities play in demanding their rights to better governance in education?
First is this. I would say that we must recognize the fact that government alone cannot do this. Government alone cannot fund education. Government alone cannot, give us the best of education that we want. It has to be a symbiotic relationship among all the stakeholders. And that's why we call them stakeholders. Education is not just the government. And it's not just the students, not just the institutions. Parents, private, individuals, philanthropists, companies, religious organizations, NGOs, development partners. Everybody is involved. The communities. These institutions, these schools, primary schools, secondary schools, tertiary institutions are located in communities. Yeah. The safety of such institution, protecting such institution from vandalism, from kidnapping, from all sorts of anything that could cause security threats, is a function of the community. The members of the community have a role to play as far as the viability of such institutions are concerned. Are they playing their roles? Parents, are we not neglecting everything in the name of, it is free education? They promise us free education.
After all, I'm paying tax.
After all, we are paying tax. I they pay my tax, so it should be free.
Everything.
See, nothing is free, let me tell you.
Even in Freetown.
Even in Freetown. The reality is, the so-called free education government is promising, it's not free. It's your tax. But the truth is, do you demand value for your tax that you have paid? So the government is saying, we are putting our money. You can go there and investigate if truly government is funding it as expected. If these institutions are properly governed as expected. And if they are not, you need to voice out. How about the NGOs? How many of us, for instance, have called the schools to say, okay, you got so allocation for this particular year. Come and account for it. How many institutions are accountable for the resources they get? We have governing councils. In the governing council, there are different representatives in the governing council of these institutions. How well do we play our roles? For lower, level, of the educational, ladder, we have what we call SMBC, school, basically what we're trying to say is they are community-based, bodies or boards for these institutions. School-based management committees, SBMC. So that it also involves members of the community. How well do we, come in to play our role? Do we also assist probably in providing some things? See, our children go to their school, so it's not out of place. If, for instance, probably through the parent forum or whatsoever platform, that will also play a role in our institution, in such institutions where our children go to. How about the alumni? How about some of this philanthropy? You see, that is a particular person that I know in this country. He owns a private university. He was a pro-chancellor or chairman governing council of a particular university in this country before he set up his own private university. This same man endowed a university in the United Kingdom with about £1 million. And I'm like, are you saying that Nigerian institutions don't need such money?
You can't find any.
You can't find any in Nigeria before you go abroad. What exactly are we doing? What exactly are we thinking? How many professorial chairs are we endowed with our institution? Okay, I am putting this amount of money. Okay, you people get the person that would head it, conduct research, I would fund it. Or this particular building I'm doing. Some people are doing, but it's not enough. We can do better. How about the corporate organizations? To what level, for instance, are we sponsoring, schools, educational, activities, and what have you? Instead of just funding sports, which is also good.
Or the entertainment.
Or the entertainment sector, in the name of talent hunt. And all that you see are probably people that will just be doing, demonstrating their craziness in the name of talent. Or those that probably come to a national TV or international TV and be showing nudity. And at the end of the day, the person that can show, more nudity will go home probably with over 100 million naira. And even give a house. And the best graduating student will probably go with 50,000 naira or 5,000 in some cases.
10,000.
10,000 naira. I have seen a particular university that the best graduating student of the institution was given a goat.
Goats?
Goat.
To make pepper soup now.
Imagine that. And here we have someone that just won the beauty pageant of the institution, of that institution, given a plot of land, given a car.
To realize
So at the end of the day, what are you telling the students? Don't waste your time reading books.
Just be fine.
Just go and if it is BBL that you can do, that will make you fine. You will get a car, you get land. Are we serious?
Begs to be answered.
Thanks so much. Now, how can the education sector be insulated from political interference and manipulation?
Yes.
Well, to a large extent, it cannot be insulated, but the effect, the influence can be reduced.
Okay.
First is, let us stick to our laws. These institutions are established. They are acts of parliament. They are products of the acts of parliament that actually set them up. So let us stay with the rules and regulations, the law that set up these institutions. That's number one. Number two is the fact that let us understand the essence of having the institutions. They are not constituency projects. They are not pet projects of people in government. But they are actually meant to provide a service. Teaching, research, community service. That's what these institutions are meant to provide. Train the next generation of people. Now, so if we have such a proper understanding of the essence of these institutions, we should all work towards, ensuring that they are viable and they are sustained. In doing this, insulating them is the fact that they have their systems. In a way, they are to be self-regulating.
Yes.
So let us stick to that. If you are the governing council, don't interfere with the day-to-day running of the institution. They have the management in place. Let the management run the day-to-day. You run the policies, the financing, and the assets of the institution. Attract funding, attract endowment, attract research, collaborations, and so many other things. And we implement the issue of the proper separation of powers. Okay, this is the work of management, this is the work of governing council, this is the work of the government, this is the work of the institution. Some of them have a level of autonomy. Let them exercise their autonomy. If there is anything you want to do, I believe we can always sit down and come to an agreement. Instead of just trying to lord, one person trying to lord itself over the other. That's what usually causes some of this crisis. And at the end of the day, too, that also causes some of this corruption and other shenanigans that we actually witness in some of these institutions. So it's important that let each person respect and stick to what, according to the law, is provided for them. Are you with me? So by the time we actually play by the rules, let us have a rule-based order. And knowing that, see, these institutions, they are meant to be, you call them ivory tower. Ivory tower because they're supposed to be insulated from what is happening in the society.
Yes. And
also they are supposed to be a model for the society to run. So the institutions themselves should see themselves as pacesetters, models for the society. So if you are saying the society is corrupt, then you must come up with a sample of how the society should be better run. And at the end of the day, let the society come and learn from the institutions, not the other way around. Because unfortunately, a lot of them actually even lost the focus. They've lost the goal. And they are really following what is going on outside. When ordinary, they ought to set the example for people. I'll give see, on the final prick, there was this time in the past that the first time I will see people queuing for buses were actually the campus, park for campus shuttle of a particular university in this state. And then you see people queue. I say, so people see the queue for Lagos. And I was asking myself, people see the queue? Yes, the queue. Even when people no longer queue at bus stops. But when you get to that particular point, you see a queue. Yeah. That's to tell you that this is how things should run. No shunting, no jumping the queue. So by the time you see that, this is what we ought to implement in the society. So at the end of the day, it will not be a case of the survival of the fittest. That is, yes. Because by the time you do that, you only say, so the next thing is, the person will not look at, I should follow the norm. I will say, okay, how can I beat the system? By the time everyone is trying to beat the system, then the society will,
chaotic. All right, so on a final note, we all understand the importance of technology, and we understand that it cannot be overemphasized in this current age. So how can technology be leveraged upon to improve governance and accountability in Nigerian education?
Well, I know to a large
Quickly,
extent that,
please.
yes, it's one of the things that government was trying to introduce with this idea of
CAPS?
CAPS is one of it, which JAM has actually implemented.
Yes.
Good. So, that's very good. So that at the end of the day, even the institutions cannot cheat the system. And
Yes.
JAM keeps warning them that if you do anything, the
be
system will
caught
show you'll be
red-handed.
caught red-handed. And at the end of the day, you just play toy with the lives of all those people that actually fall victim to what you're doing, your shenanigans. That's number one. Another example is the fact that, you have this payment system that government introduced, the remitter system, so that any payment, government with a click of a button can actually see what is going to the system and what is coming out of the system. You also have the IPPIs and some of that.
Yes.
That's what ought to actually operate.
I feel
But
like
then,
that's yet
unfortunately, we have allowed the invisible hands to actually thwart the effectiveness of the system. It's not the system itself that is totally corrupt or whatsoever. It is the people that are implementing it.
Yes.
And when there is no oversight, that's what you're allowed to happen. But I feel that to a large extent, we need to infuse technology such that at the end of the day, it reduces costs, it makes things faster, easier, and better.
Yes.
If at the end of the day, that I don't need to know anybody. With technology, everything will be automated. If you allow the automation to actually run through all aspects of our educational system, applying for exams, sitting for results, sending in results, seeking admission, recruiting teachers, sitting for promotional exams and things like that. By the time we automate everything to a large extent, and you reduce human influence on how the technology itself works, to a large extent, there will be good governance and there will be transparency. Because that transparency is very key, and accountability. Because at the end of the day, if for instance there is no way by which we are not dealing in cash, and I cannot just approve anything, every approval that I give, there is a record for it. Every amount that goes out, there is a record for it.
And there are people
And there are people monitoring it. It's the street term is follow the money.
Yes.
Because if truly we follow the money, at the end of the day, you will know if at all someone is engaging in contract splitting, someone is actually getting kickbacks from contractors and things like that. You have the account of the contractors. You can monitor, okay, who are those that they are paying? Are they paying suppliers, or they're actually paying kickbacks to those who actually give them the contract in the institutions or whatsoever, or people in government? So by the time we automate everything, we follow the money, you would see that everything will be in place. But the reality is, are we ready? The readiness is not there. And that's why people tell you that the political will to actually do the needful is absent.
It is.
See, when we are truly ready, there are so many things, even in terms of insecurity that we have in this country. The truth is, people paying money to these bandits, to these kidnappers.
Yes.
And these kidnappers, they don't just keep the money, they spend the money. So at the end of the day, okay, in this particular area, someone comes to buy large quantities of things, or send a particular money, and no one is asking questions.
No one is seeing
it, and no one is following the traces. For goodness sake, it's just because all of us are being selfish. At the end of the day, we will still come back to hurt ourselves.
Yes.
Because at this particular point, you think you might escape, but you might be beating the system here. But at the end of the day, some other people will beat the system in such a way that would affect your own life.
Yes, yes.
So, with all this, see, automation, infusion of technology, the right way, the right method would actually get us what we want. But if not, technology is giggle. If you garbage in rubbish, you also garbage out rubbish.
Exactly.
And that, unfortunately, that's the way we are infusing technology here. And also because we are really not interested in technology. So that's why people would bypass the technology, they will jettison it, or intentionally, sabotage it, so that then they can all return to the manual system.
Because of their manipulation.
Yes, now because they want to manipulate it, and because of their selfish interest.
Wow. I really look forward to a Nigeria where it's heard of nobody doesn't necessarily have to know anybody to become somebody.
Yeah.
This is an interesting segment.
Yes. So that's all we can take on the discuss segment, and we would like to appreciate our in-house analyst for these, hot takes and insights he has provided us. We'll go on a real quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. You're welcome to the Words on the Marble segment of Education Today, where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational as well as inspirational to everyone. And today we have a Chinese proverb for us to ponder upon. So the proverb goes thus: learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. Once again, the words on the marble for this edition is: learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. And that's our words on the marble for today. For us as students of knowledge, let us make concerted efforts to acquire knowledge, as that is a movable asset that follows us everywhere we go. It is ours and no one can take it away from us, not even the people that impart the knowledge into us. And so, do we have a winner to the question? The question once again is, in what year did Cyprus gain independence? And the answer, Cyprus and Nigeria are actually mates, in case you don't know. They are like a twin from the other continents. Yes, so Cyprus actually gained independence in the year 1960. Do we have any winner to that? All right, so we do not have any winner, but then would like to appreciate Mr. Inyoda and Mr. Musiliu for tuning in to the program, and for dropping comments. Mrs. Omolara Akinomi, thank you also. Mr. Musiliu, Mr. Aroni Yaya, thank you for joining. Damilola Afunleyi, thank you all for joining, and we really appreciate your support and following up to this moment.
This is to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can sponsor this program and advertise your products and services, and also showcase the events on our program. You can do this by calling the numbers 070-250-74268, or you can also call 070-395-8998. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's know how you feel about today's program through our various platforms at www.facebook.com/educationtoday.
And many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Light Radio. The supervising producer has been Said Aremu, as well as T-Wise and Fee. Thank you all for being behind the keyboard. So do join us same time next week on this station. I remain Nima Ibrahim, and with me in the studio has been
Kareem Aminat.
See you all next week, and goodbye.
Goodbye.